Yes, we are. Okay. Thank you,
Thank you.
Alan.
Very good. He is the master gonger. I mean, Don started it all, really. I think I heard him in 1979, first got to New York. I never had experienced anything like it. The sound went through my body. I don't know if we'll have the same experience, but Don, Don began the whole Gong craze. So, all right.
You know, sometimes, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear myself. People's, it's like being abducted by a UFO. It's a wonderful thing because you're able to dematerialize and disappear just for, even for a second like that, into a timelessness, interdimensional state. So the gong has become very, very popular just because that one, it's not a one trick pony, but that's one of its major tricks. So I'll hit it for you. The gong in the background there, they call the eight corners of heaven gong with a mirror. You can see the hat floating in it. And it's a, it's for what we call clear mirror tantra. So you use it.
It doesn't translate that well to Zoom.
I offer you peace. Come on, everybody. Let's do it together. I offer you friendship. And I offer you love. I hear your needs. I see your beauty. I feel your feelings. All wisdom flows from the highest source. I honor that source in you. Let us work together. You are my own true self. I am another yourself. We are one. And then it goes out to the heart. So be it. So that's it. We've been sharing it now since, oh my God, since 84. So
Thanks, Don.
thank you.
Any anything anything else you'd like to say about the state of the world we're in, or any perceptions about reality?
Well, you know, one of my big project has been over the years is the first day of world peace. Robert Mueller is now gone, so that that day will come when people will gather, hold hands, give thanks for life and for breath, and listen to all the gongs and bells ring again around the planet, celebrating the first 24 hours of world peace. Now, so I'm still like behind that bandwagon as much as I can. So this is what we're celebrating, and we do have some prophecies of the gong, of course. We'll see fine if they come true, but by 2025, we want to have nonviolence for 24 hours around the planet. This has been cooking for a while. We'll see whether or not that year of 2025, when the fourth ray is activated, whether or not truly that was just a story or whether it's actually something worth gonging about. I think it's the latter.
Thank you, Don.
Anyway.
Thanks for everything. Are you still in New York? Are you
No,
still?
I'm with my daughter in California. I had to
Oh,
cancel. I was going to like 20 countries every year for the last 7 or 8 years. And all of a sudden it was just totally cut off. The last thing I did was in Spain. And that was
mhm.
I just got out of there alive before they closed the borders and couldn't travel anymore.
How are the fires out there? Are you near any fires
Uh,
in
well, yeah,
California?
no, the sun, it looks red. It's cloudy. It's very, very bad air quality right now here.
Are you in northern? Where are you
Los Angeles,
exactly? In San Francisco?
in LA.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I see. I see.
You know my daughter.
Wow. Maybe
She's a chiropractor.
I don't. I'm not sure if I know your daughter,
Aromatherapy. She does all these
but
things.
it's
Anyway,
great to see you.
you don't mind me listening in on all of this. It really does my heart good to hear and
Yeah.
like deja vu in a lot of ways.
Mm. Do you have any ET contact experiences you want to share?
Well, I think when the first one is when I was about, I think, 4 years old, and I think I was. It was around 1938 or so, and I fell asleep, and I dreamt of a UFO, and the next day I woke up, and the next evening I went back to sleep again, and I was back into that big disc flying through this again. I have three nights. I don't remember anything more than that about that particular experience, except I never forgot the sort of the details and certain things. And then the other extraordinary 1987. Do you remember 1987? Yeah. I was in Colorado, and I was driving in a car. I was in the front seat, the passenger seat, with two other people, one person in the back, one driving. And we're driving along the highway that goes through Colorado. And we've been driving for quite a while because we wanted to go to the harmonic convergence celebration there. Uh, one of the walk-ins, I didn't know at the time, she told me later, said, pull over quickly. So we pulled over in our car. And as we were pulling over, we looked out and we saw this huge mothership just skimming the top of the pine trees there. I guess they were, what kind of trees they were. And it was huge. It was like, like in the movies. And she said, wait, as it went past the treetops, wait. I said, and two little scout ships came after it, following it, and there. And I don't know what happened after that. We fell asleep and woke up a little bit later and drove on into to where the celebration was. But these things happen in life, and those two I remember. I don't know why you asked me, but that's were two events.
Okay, Alan, are you there? Let's start with Augustine. You had tell everybody about yourself, the people that weren't on the first on Contact with Higher Intelligence Part 1, who you are, and you've had an experience recently, yes?
Yes, hello everyone. Nice to be here with you all. Yeah, my name is Agustin Rodriguez. I'm from Uruguay. I was an Air Force officer in Uruguay for 12 years, and then I moved to commercial aviation. I'm flying now Boeing 777, and I have had several experiences as then I had contact with these beings. They told me that this is part of my mission here in the planet, to have these experiences to be able to relate to other people. So last one was over Turkey. We were flying from Frankfurt to Dubai. So the route that we take is to the east of Europe. So if you see Turkey in the map, it's a little bit elongated from west to east, east to west. So going from west to east, we were like in the middle of the country, 37,000 feet. It was 4:33 time from London time, United Time coordinated UTC time. And I asked if they were out there, and yes, they started showing themselves. You see like it was a satellite in the sky, far above, like a light started moving, and they do flashes to me. So that's how I know it's them, and we are in this kind of telepathic communication. I don't receive any from them, but I know they receive from me because, of course, the flashes are there. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, start moving. The captain was on my left-hand side because I'm a first officer now. And yeah, it was quite amazing, and it was increasing. So at some point, I asked to them if the captain was meant to see them, because it happens sometimes that I tell them and they don't show themselves because it's not their moment. But this time, at this point, we were at almost 5 London time, 5 p.m. London time, and we were in the north of Baghdad over Iraq airspace, and the flashes were very, very intense on the right-hand side. We have big window, of course, there because it's a heavy aircraft, and the flashes were very, very intense. I asked if the captain should see them, and they say yes in the flash way. And I call him and say, okay, come, and someone is going to say hello. And yeah, the flashes were very intense, and he was quite amazed. He never saw that, despite of being in the air for more than 20 years. And I told him that these were high intelligence from other realities, and he was quite impacted about what I was saying. And he said, oh, I thought it was like satellites. And say, okay, look again, and they're going to do the flashes again. And in this case, they were in one place, they were not moving. So he watched again, and boom, the flashes started again. So it was quite shocking for him. And then, of course, I gave him the whole version of what I do and what I share. So he was quite amazed. He's from Finland. And that same day, people of my group reported more contacts in London, because it was a CE5 worldwide contact night that night. I think it was the 5th of September, and it was quite amazing. So their presence is very significant these days in the air, and yes, they are around. That was what happened this day. I wanted to share with you.
Right. So you're saying this just happened September 5th? Is that what you said?
Yes. It was, for me, started at 4:33 London time, and ended up at around 5-something p.m. London time.
That was like 4 or 5 days ago, right?
Yeah.
Did you get a message about anything that we should know?
Well, the message I'm receiving the last few days is about the nature of our reality. We consider this reality being actually real, but it's not. It's, as you know, everything is energy, but we get very attached to the reality that we are living in, and therefore we are not able to transcend this reality. We get in some way stuck, although we know that as souls we cannot get stuck. We are just here because we want. But if we really want to transcend this reality, we need to get rid of all the programs, and yeah, that's what keep us coming back here, because we are very deep into the illusion of this life being real.
Well, that's exactly what I want to interview you about, because my program's New Realities, because I understand what you're saying. The ETs are here to help us shift out of this illusion of the material world.
Yeah,
And
yeah. And another thing that I would like
I mean,
to share with you is that the conversation that I had with a being called Ardif, and he is channeled by Rob Gauthier. I know you. I think you know him. And in this conversation, I asked him to give me a reference about his reality, because I wanted to have something to grasp about his reality. And he gave me this example. He told me, in your reality, so in our reality here in planet Earth, what we call reality, the lightest thing is light. So he told me, in my planet, so in his planet, which is a sixth density planet, sixth density being, he told me, a rock in my planet is lighter than light in your planet. So you can imagine how dense is our reality in this way. So a rock in his planet is lighter than light in our planet. So that's why it's so difficult for our consciousnesses to get out of the illusion, because we are kind of trapped into this dense matter that doesn't really allow us to know who we are for real. And that's why now, as the human frequency is going higher, yeah, people is having their awakening, it's having opening their capacities, their what we start seeing paranormal things, but it's actually, we are getting out of the dense matter, which is what this other group of beings want us to be in, you know. That's why they put so much fear into our society, to keep us in the low vibration and in the dense matter, in a way of saying.
thank you. That's a really great understanding that I think we need to shift, that we're being controlled by the lower level beings to get stuck in the thought forms that give them power, but not ourselves.
Yeah, Alan, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think a lot of us are getting very, very similar types of information. The languaging may be a little bit different, the terminology. Many of these beings use different lexicons, you know, different ways of communicating. But I think when you listen to these contact experiences, I think, wouldn't everybody agree, more or less, give or take, that we're getting very, very similar messages? Sorry. Okay.
Are you getting a similar message now, Phil?
I'm getting, that's very, very funny. Yeah, the message was to turn my phone off. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hear Tony. Tony's a great new old friend. You know, all these calls are wonderful, because the more I get to know you, the more I recognize you, some from the past and some from the future, and some from just being present with each other. So Tony's a great new friend. I've been, I hate the word fan, but admirer of his postings on Facebook. I don't know, for some reason, when I post on Facebook, even these events, these webinars, I think they only get seen by a couple of my cousins in Miami Beach. I don't know. Something is amiss here. So when you, if you could, guys and gals, when you get the notices for these webinars, if you would share them, we would be very, very grateful, right, Alan? So anyway, I want to welcome Tony into the mix here. Tony, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Thank you, Phil.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate,
Spotlight you right
appreciate,
now. There you go.
appreciate you inviting me. It's really, it's awesome. I've had quite a few experiences actually with extraterrestrial and you know, identified flying objects. My first one was actually, I was about 12 or 13 years old, and we were out in a very isolated rural area in Gisborne in New Zealand, it's inland from there. It's all farmland, hill country. And I remember waking up, I think I was having a dream that was very involving extraterrestrial type thing. And then I woke up in the dream into a lucid kind of state, and I saw two beings standing in the doorway of a common room that I was sleeping with my brother and sister, and we were staying with our cousins up on this farm. And the light, I remember just looking and seeing the beings, and it was like this light shining behind them. And I remember thinking, this is very odd that there's so much light in a very dark, it was the middle of the night, and we're in a farm, so there's no way that could be. I actually remembered this later, but that was what happened. And then the next day, it was all across the front page of the local news and on TV that there had been UFOs sighted all over the town, all over the town of Gisborne. And so that was a real, confirmation for me. And I felt very weird, very, very weird for a few days after that. Then when I was about 20, I saw a mothership. We were in Auckland on the north shore of Auckland. You look straight out at the water to the Hauraki Gulf. And there's a well-known ley line that runs from this particular part of Auckland out to Rangitoto Island. It's a volcano that's dormant, but it's still, I think it's still potential. It's still a very young volcano. And I was just staring out at the ocean as we did with my friends, and we just sometimes have a drink and go down to the beach. And it was coming into late afternoon, early evening, and I saw the light. I saw this unusual light appear from the side of the volcano, and I tracked it right from the moment I saw it on the horizon, and I just watched it come closer and closer, and then I could see it was a ship, and this was the first actual ship I'd seen. And it flew silently up, and then it stopped right over the top of my car. And I got out of the car, I looked straight up underneath it, and I could see, I'm getting goosebumps just reliving it, because it was so huge. It blocked out the whole sky. It was only a few hundred feet above me, and it emitted a very unusual sort of humming noise. And what happened was then, and it flew away. We went and told I was actually with a mate, and we went and told our friends what we'd seen. And my other friends just dismissed it. But then after a few days, and I brought it up again, my friend said, what UFO? We never saw a UFO. And then I ended up forgetting it until I read Jay-Z Knight's book called My Story. And she was telling the story of how you can get a certain amnesia when you see something like this. And but the memory can be triggered. And that's exactly what happened. As I was reading her story about how she got re-remembered her experiences with some UFOs, I had all of the memories come flooding back into my mind, and I can vividly recall it just like it happened yesterday. Now it's sort of inscribed. And I went on to see many other incidents. I've been taken in a ship. I lost time. I was driving from Hamilton to Auckland. I just went into the ship. They told me how it was run. It was all biologically driven, and they telepathically linked minds. the ship was organic. I had a conversation, and I was put back in my car when I was in Auckland. Didn't remember anything of the trip. And then by the time I got home, the car completely was wrecked. All the seals in the car just disintegrated. So something happened, but I clearly remember the conversation I had and how the beings were saying they're my brothers, intergalactic brothers and sisters, and they're just coming to say hello, tell me I was ready to hear.
They told you ready to what? What's that? They told you ready to
hear this information, to be imparting the information, and as I've been involved in the spiritual realm, you know, I've had crystal stores, I've sold New Age products, I've done a lot of work in spiritual stuff. I've got a crystal still just this day on the pyramid, the Great Pyramid in Giza, which I was guided to do. Since I did that, my life was completely turned upside down. I could still connect with that pyramid very easily.
You know, forgetting an incident for many years is quite common, and I think probably everyone on this call probably has either remembered or not remembered an incident that's probably happened to them. You know, Bud Hopkins called that missing time, or there's lots of Betty and Barney Hill. Do you know their story,
No.
Tony?
No, I don't.
They were probably the first documented abductees in 1961. There's actually a plaque on the side of the road in New Hampshire saying this is where Betty and Barney Hill were taken by aliens. It says that the state of New Hampshire put that up. And, you know, they were an interracial couple in the early 60s. They didn't want to have a lot of news about them, and yet they were traumatized. They didn't know what happened to them. They were 4 hours of missing time on this road, on this back from Montreal to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And then they suddenly were miles ahead. They saw a light in the sky. They didn't know what happened, but then suddenly found themselves like 4 hours missing. Eventually they were hypnotized by Dr. Benjamin Simon, who never worked with UFO abductees. The word wasn't even created till much later, but he said these people were more traumatized than anyone he's ever found in high combat situations. And I think, you know, there's two theories about what people forget. Either the ETs want us to forget and not remember, or our own self-defense psychological mechanisms block out those memories because they're so out of the ordinary that they are traumatizing. So it's probably a combination of both, and people don't remember until they're ready to remember. And I'm glad you remembered, because this is the time of awakening. We're all here to remember who we really are and get the news there, get this information to as many people, because that's how the whole world starts to remember who they are. So thank you, Tony, for sharing. I'm really excited when people share this kind of stuff, because I've been obsessed with the subject. I'm writing a book called Making Contact, and which is a collection of stories. So I think this is what's going to change our reality. So thank you, Tony, for sharing. Oh, and Jay-Z Knight was a friend of mine. Yes, I read that book too. And that was a really great jumping off point for remembering my own experiences as well. Thank you for that, Tony.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thank you.
I think, Tony, we may have met in the early 2000s. I think when I started coming to New Zealand, I think it was 2003 through Judy Satori, I think.
Yes, Judy Satori is
I think we met, and I think I've been in one of the crystal shops, I think, at that time. We go back to about 2003, 2004. Yeah. Starting to remember now.
I was doing the
New Zealand.
Himalayan salt and the salt lamps. And,
right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
And
when
I
I
had
first
a-
saw them.
Yeah.
Alan, yes?
Wait, you're doing the Himalayan. What did you say you're doing, Tony?
The Himalayan salt, and I was bringing in the Himalayan pink rock salt for eating and the lamps, the
Oh,
glowing rock lamps made out of salt.
no, I love that. I was in a salt room and I really felt the increased oxygen in those rooms. But
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, is there a lot of people making contact in New Zealand? Is a high UFO area?
Yeah, there's quite a bit. There's always been quite a bit going on here. I also
Is there more? Yeah, go
uh,
ahead.
we had a very famous guy called Bruce Cathy. You might know Bruce Cathy. He mapped out a whole lot of ley lines around New Zealand. He was a pilot of a plane as well, who had a lot of encounters. And through his work, he mapped out some ley lines and where the UFOs. He figured out the UFOs would run along the energy lines. And I went to a particular ley line that he himself had an experience with, and I had another experience with a UFO came straight in, and it was just like a little scout ship. And every time we'd go over the hill, it would be waiting for us and would spin the lights around, and all multicolored. And I would go over the next hill, and there it was always waiting, and it just kept bunny hopping through this rural road. So that Bruce Cathy, I have to thank for that experience.
What year was that? When did that happen?
That was, I not long started my shop. It was 1995. I remember it well.
Are the sightings increasing these days? Are you hearing more about ships in the sky?
Yep, from different quarters. Yes, not a huge, not like a deluge, but definitely, yeah, a lot of the people I'm connected with on Facebook and through those channels, it seems to be getting more accepted as well. And there's a lot of people that are having a lot of repeat experiences. It seems to be a lot of confined to a lot of the same people, but having multiple experiences.
Great. Thanks. It's great to hear. Thanks for. Have you
Yeah.
shared story with other people, or do you keep quiet about it?
I keep pretty quiet about it because a lot of people in my circle and family, they have no idea. They think I'm kooky enough as it is.
I think it's time to come to the closet, though, Tony. I think people have to hear this. So.
Yeah, I know. I feel that too.
Yeah. Well, I will look you up if I get to New Zealand. Well.
Yeah, do.
Thanks.
I bet you there's some cool places.
Yeah, it sounds great. No, I'll get your email right there, Tony at Earthstar NZ. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
cheers.
Okay, Phil, it's up to you.
Okay, Kiara, let's bring Kiara in now. Kiara Windrider. Hi, nice to see you again, Kiara. Thanks again for joining.
Hey, good to see you,
us.
Philip.
Kiara was in part one. Okay.
Yeah. Well, as some of you are talking, when Tony, you're mentioning the role of memories and how they can be turned on and off. A couple of weeks ago, I was doing an interview with Peter Moon, whom some of you may know, author of Montauk Project books and Radu Cinemas publishers. And he was talking about Preston Nichols, who was involved with the Montauk Project, and how he discovered how to retrieve some of these memories through the use of, what did he call it, delta T antennas. There's electronic frequencies that can assist us in retrieving memories. And I'm also certain that there's electronic frequencies that can do the opposite. So what we're seeing right now with 4G, 5G, and the whole network around the Earth and satellite technologies to suppress memories and suppress our contact with higher dimensions, I think is the other side of it. And I know that this is an attempt being made an attempt actually to even shift dimensions. So Augustine, when you talk about, how ETs actually move from one density to another, and I think all of us have access to many different densities or dimensions. But it's a matter of where we put our attention and where we can, how we can open to the higher dimensions or densities. Because I know we coexist in so many densities or dimensions all at once. But it's like, that aspect of our mind which represses the memory of other dimensions. And, sometimes we relegate that to dreams, or sometimes we go through cognitive dissonance where we start to remember, but then, it's just not important enough, or it conflicts with paradigms that we hold, and then we lose it. And I think there's times that we can synchronize with incoming waves. Many people have experience with ETs and with intraterrestrial beings beneath the earth that somehow it is possible to be lifted out from our current, matrix of third dimensional reality into these higher matrices. And it happens like that. We may not even be aware of that. And then suddenly, oh, there's a UFO, there's a inner earth being. But how can we do this consciously? And, maybe starting with lucid dreaming and learning how to do so, and slowly expanding our memory banks. So, we can remember what's already here. So, like Tony, you went through this series of hypnotic sessions to start to remember. So whether that's induced or natural, I think we have access to a lot more memories than we remember. And,
Do you,
and that's to me
do you
the
remember
key.
anything, Kiara? Do you have any memories of your own?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I could talk about one. As you
Yeah.
know, I lived in Mount Shasta for many years, which is a portal. It's a dimensional portal into many, many different worlds, elemental worlds, and higher intelligences, and ascended masters, and inner earth beings, and nature kingdoms, and whatnot. So I remember one time when it seemed like a dream at first, and for a long time I thought it was a dream. And then later, as things came together, there was a deeper memory within that, where I realized that it was more than a dream. And in this, I was actually taken inside the earth and connected with different races that live within the city that is known to be underneath Mount Shasta.
Is that Telos? Is that the
Telos,
name of the city? Was
yes.
Telos, right? So you
Yeah.
met the Telosian. What did they look like, the beings there?
They looked a little bit taller than humans, but not very different. I was trying to see, okay, which kind of race is this and where do they come from? And they've been there apparently for much longer than we know. So like the Hopis have their own legends about going into the inside world and then coming out from that during one of these cataclysms. And I think these are also beings that have lived there. They're not ascended masters, at least the ones I met. They're not, super special. They think, they act, they talk like the rest of us. They're a little bit taller. They could be connected with some of the Nordic ET races. I had a very beautiful contact with a woman whose name was Yashoda. And, we had spent a long time exchanging information. And at one point she said, we have a soul contract on a certain level where she is able to experience the surface earth through my consciousness and vice versa. And and I've had other experiences since then of contacting her in other dreams. I also met one of the rulers or chieftains of that tribe, and it was like a council. People gathered together in a circle, and we were just discussing, what's happening between the different races. And at that time, I was really eager to, for contact to begin to happen between the surface and inner Earth civilizations. And I realized, we are not ready. They are ready for it, but we are not ready. It would completely shatter our perceptions. It would be too much for most people. And they also need to be protected from our consciousness, being too invasively directed towards this. And, humans are known to be very greedy. Um, there's been expeditions into the inner Earth cities through the polar regions, Admiral Byrd and many others. Norwegian navigators have managed to go through and meet various civilizations. But there's always these barriers, energetic barriers on their part, because they need to protect themselves. And this is very high technology. And so when I first started going into Telos, I also had to deal with these energetic barriers. And I found these two dwarf-like beings. They were like, I don't know, some kind of guides, who stepped forward and somehow released the barrier. And then I could go through these tunnels and enter and follow with them into these chambers and experience. One thing about their cities is that there's a natural lighting. They don't have access to sunlight as we do. It's it's not deep underground. I would say it's less than a mile underground, because some inner Earth cities are much deeper than that. But this is not that deep. But there's still a lighting that's self-luminescent, and I don't know if it's crystalline lighting through the walls or some kind of technology that they use to open up electrical magnetic waves of, I don't know, but it seems like it was somehow very natural. And so their food production, everything they did was based on this natural lighting. I haven't really talked with other people who've had, Telosian experiences. I know there's others in Sedona and Mount Shasta and people. I just, wanted to keep my own connection without being too
Public.
Tiara, you
altered.
want to talk about Radu for a moment?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is fascinating to me. Yeah. So Peter Moon, who's also is the publisher of some of these books written by Radu Cinema, and he's a Romanian author. He's also part of Department Zero, which is the Romanian Secret Service, that's linked with the U.S. military and Secret Service. So there's been these archaeological discoveries going back 50,000 years beneath the mountains of Romania. And it's technology that for us is incredible. It's time travel technology. That's also physical travel into the inner Earth, there's portals going into Egypt towards Tibet, and then one into the inner Earth, which then leads to many different sub-levels. And there's what do they call it? There's elevators between different cities which you can access. And once you're there, there's also, there's one city called Apelos, which is a more crystalline city. And that's about, it's about 70 kilometers in from the surface, not directly down, but through these mountain caverns. You can access that from the surface. There are some that you couldn't access from the surface. And so he gives a description of some of these. And then through this chamber beneath the mountain in Romania, there's access to the whole network. And as one of his teachers, Cesar Brad, who guides him and teaches him how to go through these passageways and portals, and it's fascinating. And but what I come away with from all this is that is two things. One is that these things are real. It's like it's not just a figment of someone's science fiction imagination. Actually, science fiction is more real than we imagine. But the other is that we don't need to look for portals beneath, well, it's not just certain special places like Buchegi, where you can access this. We have those portals within ourselves, which we can access by learning how to move through dimensions within ourselves. So dimensions are not just accessible beyond our physical space, but also inside our physical space. And so this is something I'm exploring now, how to access some of these portals by going internal. But it's, all of this is so fascinating. And I think we're in the process of shifting vibration collectively. And what that means is that this becomes accessible to all of us. It's like the Earth Gaia frequency is changing dramatically enough right now. For instance, just a week ago, there were some Australian Aboriginal elders who spoke about this technology called the magic box. How many of you have heard of that? So this is something, it's supposedly a Pleiadian technology and would be activated December 21st of this year at precisely 5:04 a.m. In the region of Uluru. And it's dormant. The technology has been here, but it's dormant. And what it requires to become activated is focused intention. So if there's a strong enough focused intention from the human collective, this could be activated. And what that means is that in a very, very short period of time, all of our negative timeline paradigm that has to do with being shut down and cut off and living in this dualistic matrix of reality, all that could be shattered very quickly. Suddenly, it's like suddenly we begin to remember who we are, what we are, our past or future, the full dimension presence. So I feel like there's stages that we've been going through. Harmonic convergence was certainly one of the first ones, 2012, and I feel like 2020 is the next phase where we are going through an initiation, and all the chaos and craziness of this year is simply an initiation. It's just it's a point of focus where all that hucha that's been sitting inside human collective, the darkness has been surfacing, the fear, the control mechanisms, there's all the human centuries of darkness is surfacing to be seen for what it is, so that it can be transmuted. And in the process now, it's like the next wave of evolutionary frequencies can come through. Last week, a couple of days ago, we interviewed Laura Eisenhower, whom some of you may be familiar with. She was the great granddaughter of Dwight D. Eisenhower, very involved with extraterrestrial races, also with secret government projects and bringing light into that whole system. And she was talking about the timelines that we're involved in right now. So some of you may be familiar with Project Looking Glass, where you're actually, there's a natural organic timeline, and then there's an artificial timeline that was created by the deep state forces to shift us away from organic ascension. And this timeline is now at an end. it started soon after 2012, the 2016 election, where Hillary Clinton was not allowed to become president, was a continuation of that return to the natural timeline. And now it's like we're strongly in that higher dimensional timeline. So I sense that things will start happening and changing very, very quickly from this time on. This is truly a point of initiation, and if this magic box technology is activated, sometimes it all sounds like science fiction to me. It's like what's real and what's hopium. But I'm sensing that all of these inner technologies as well as outer technologies are now coming into the foreground. So using the power of our collective intention, we begin to open up to everything that's possible. Sri Aurobindo talks about this a lot, the supramental descent. So it's like this higher vibrational unified frequency is now descending, not just through the mental or the vital realms, but deep into the physical realms, into the vibrational frequency of matter itself. And as it moves through this range of frequency, it's inevitably bringing up everything that resists this passage. So he talks about the supramental catastrophe that's necessary before the descent. And we're going through that. It's like everything is coming to the surface, but it's not the opposite of darkness. It's part of the integration of light. So there's a lot of hope for me in all of this. I'm reminded of the story of Pandora's box, where you open the box and the first thing you see is all this craziness spilling out into the earth. And then she quickly closes the box, but what's left behind is hope. And now we get to open the box again and find that hope, recognize it for what it is, and recognize that it's the time now to step into this new reality. It couldn't have happened before. It wasn't time. And in the right timing, nothing is impossible.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up, and I'm glad I asked you to bring up Radu, because in finding that Romanian Sphinx, certainly being granted access to that secret chamber below the Romanian Sphinx, just like the Sphinx in Giza, where there are the Hall of Records, there are multiple Hall of Records, and I think they're also distributed throughout the earth below these sphinxes, which are now being discovered either on the surface or under the water, that contain these holographic records of Earth's history. And as you said, we have the same mapping within us. And I think the apex of a lot of the great teachings, the secret teachings, were how to navigate these portals, to open up these, what the Kabbalists call the gates of light, the Share aura within us, so we can access these memories. We all are walking mandalas of sound and light. We all are walking recorder crystals. And I remember when Casey talked about the Akashic recorder cell, you reminded me to go into my notes just now, when Casey talked about the Akashic recorder cell stored as a record of knowledge within the etheric substance of the planet, the planetary memory record. A lot of this is attributed to Thoth, of course, the Akashic scribe. But they talk about the Akashic as a series of interlinked energy bands, right? Forming geometric recording crystals. The Akosha, the original word, the derivation of the word, is a geometric crystal, pentadodecahedral in structure, that there's a greater and a lesser Akasha, that the sound frequencies will translate into light inscriptions, that the greater and the lesser Akasha holds the storage of the thought forms, which are then flamed and inscribed into the heart of each crystal, into these recorder cells, and that the super Akashic, which I think in my paradigm, would be dimensions 13 and 14 and 15, fifth harmonic universe, the consciousness levels of the Rishi, where you get the first recording crystals of the universe, the first light transcriptions, the first levels where sound is transduced into light, where light language begins. Hold on, I got to admit somebody. So I think this is really fascinating, and sort of as an extension of that, in the write-up, I said that there would be a process to stimulate the memory, and if it's okay with everybody, would like to do that now. This comes, I'm using what's called the, what is it called again? Okay, here it is. The pathway prayer. Now, I can't remember who came up with this, but this is to open the access to the holographic records within us. That each one of us is basically, when we're seen from the higher dimensions, we are these multidimensional recorder crystals. Every thought, every transcription of light and sound is encoded within us. How do we access what they call that cellular memory? So with this pathway prayer is a way to at least certainly begin the opening of the recorder crystals within ourselves, opening up what Gikatilia and many of the Kabbalists called opening up the gates of light, the Share aura within us. This is what meditation on the sacred names, and why it's so important in the Book of Knowledge, the Keys of Enoch, to the vibration of the sacred names, to imprint those names in the biocircuits of the body. When we actually become the living vibration of these sacred names, they are the electromagnetic programs, the mathematical programs that will open up these gates of light. The memories will come flooding back, past, present, future, parallel lives. So I'd like you to, if you're willing, to repeat these words out loud, but they don't have to be very loud. They can be like a whisper, like a prayer, okay? And I think I'll back myself on the auto harp here for this one, just lightly. Okay, here we go. Everybody hear that? Pathway prayer, opening up these paths, these gates of light within us. And so repeat these words aloud, but they can be like a whisper, like a prayer. And so we do acknowledge the forces of light.
So we do acknowledge the forces of light.
Asking for guidance, direction, and courage. To know the truth. As it is revealed for our highest good. And the highest good of everyone connected to us. O Holy Spirit of God, protect me from all forms of self-centeredness. And direct my attention to the work at hand. Help me to know myself in the light of the Akashic records. To see myself through the eyes of the Lords of the records. And enable me to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters and teachers and the loved ones of me have for me.
And the loved ones of me have for me.
And now, silently, mentally, help me to know and repeat your names in the light of the Akashic records. To see myself through the eyes of the Lords of the records. And enable me to share the wisdom and the compassion that the masters and teachers and the loved ones of, again, repeat your name, have for me. And affirm now that the records are now open. When they asked Edgar Casey, what is the book of life? His answer was the book of life. The record that the individual entity itself writes upon the skein of time and space. And through patience, it is opened when the self has attuned to the infinite and may be read by those attuning to that consciousness. And that we each write the story of our lives through our thoughts, our deeds, and our interaction with the rest of creation. Encoded in light language, the sacred geometry of words, sound, symbols, geomancies. Breathe easily and gently. Casey reaffirmed through Ra and other entities that this age is marked by knowing that there is a direct access to our personal and spiritual source, the Akashic Recorder Cell, stored as a record of knowledge within the etheric substance of the planet. Yes, the etheric substance of the planet. Archangels, oversouls, their biologies are composed of pure etheric matter, pure silica-based consciousness, and they do have a planetary memory record. They know themselves as planet. And they can access the 144 or 144,000 simultaneous incarnations of themselves within 9 dimensions of existence. The lower Akasha, the higher Akasha, of course, fifth harmonic universe, or what we can call the fifth density, dimensions 13 and 14 and 15, the rainbow bridge, the realm of the rishis, lords of light, beings of pure living light. When they manifest in our vision down here, we will see them as very, very large beings, very tall with long expanded heads, the rishis. The higher Akasha, the nectar, they call it, where sound first transduces into light inscriptions, where light language begins, which are then flamed or inflamed again, inscribed into the heart of each crystal. The song of Indra, the net, the web of Indra, a webwork of crystals, that in each crystal can be seen the face of all other crystals. The Avatamsaka Sutra, reminding us that we're all connected in the net of Indra and the song of Indra. And the super Akashic, the recording cells and the crystals of the universe. And now we're being granted access under all these sphinxes, and I'm pretty sure there's a connection with all the crystal skulls too, as recorder crystals. All these holographic hall of records within our own bodies, as Kiara alluded to, that we can learn how to access through these multidimensional recorder crystals of ourselves, accessing all the memory of who we are, were, and will be, and can be. That although the parallel earth may be under a one world order system now in structure, we, the collective, certainly the collective us, can steer the earth into another probability, another timeline. And breathe easily and gently. If there's anything you want to access now, if you have a question now would be the time to ask it of yourself. What do I need to know? What can my soul tell me right now, or oversoul, that I could be of the highest and greatest service to myself and the planet and to Source in this very moment? What can I be shown? What can I be led to? What can I be made to see? Open my eyes, open my ears. How can I be of the highest and greatest service to the world? What is the highest manifest version of myself in this life? And you'll probably get it in the dream state where the veils are thin, or at dawn or at dusk, or at any time where the veils are thin or thinnest. And now repeat aloud, but very softly. I would like to thank the masters and the teachers and the loved ones for their love and compassion. I would like to thank the Lords of the Akashic Records for their point of view. And I would like to thank the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. And as we speak these words, we literally construct a bridge of light with the words themselves, a vertical pillar of light connecting our finite being with the infinite being and all infinite being. So in a moment, just start to bring yourself back. Akasa, Akasha, hidden space, secret space, but hidden no longer, always in plain view. The halls of learning, the halls of knowledge, a universal library within each and every one of us. Ra said it was between the fourth and fifth levels of mind. Yes. Fifth harmonic universe, dimension 13 and 14 and 15, asked to link with your solar rishi. Where the mental ideas are in the process of manifestation, they begin to take on physical form. In this library of light, a matrix of consciousness programs. As Dr. Hertak would say, scenario abstracts. So bring yourself back now. Okay. I've always believed that the answer is encoded in the question. I have a theory that if you have a question you want to submit to Source, write down the question, a very compact question, and then go to an anagram program online, because I think the answer may be just a juxtaposition of the letters of the question, that the question itself contains the answer, you know? But I'm glad, Kiara, oh, I just love, it's hard to break away from just the sound of your voice, because it is so, I don't know. Some things even for me, I can't describe in words, and that's probably better, you know? Because even any kind of definition implies some degree of separation or limited experience. Alan, you still there? Okay. Alan is
I'm still here. Yes, I'm still here.
okay. I'd like to bring on Annalisa. Are you here? I was totally blown away by Annalisa. There you go. The other day it was on, I think you were sharing on, was it Hildegard's experiencers group? Or was it our contact part one? I would love for you to share with us.
I think it was the part one. I think so. Or I'm not sure what you've done since then. I was just wondering, after that amazing prayer you just shared and that experience, I would love it if you would send that out as well, if possible. Has anyone else seen any crystal beings. I was in a wormhole once. I was in a wormhole once, in a you know, lucid dream state, and these beings were rushing by, and they looked like crystals, or they were huge, and they had lights going, you know, in them, and I thought they were beings. I don't know. Has anyone else ever come across that?
Be shy.
And anyway, that came up because you were talking about the crystals, and I met some. Well, I didn't get to meet them, actually. I was just on kind of a roadway and was watching them go by. I'm not sure what to share. I've had a lot of experiences on board, good ETs, bad ETs. I know that the Love and Light services are here for us. They commanded, I was on one of the dove ship vehicles in Sedona, and Sananda was there, and they thanked me for completing my work with them. Evidently, I've been on board quite a few times, but the what they did share is that they put a device on me to raise my frequency, because they wanted to know that as the vibration of the earth would continue to rise, they wanted to know when fear would kick in the human body, so that they would know when to step in to assist us. So I know that they're on to help us whenever and wherever they can, as I know many other races are as well.
Do you want to share anything, Wes? Do you want to do any, is anything want to come through you, Annalisa, at the moment? Or anything else?
It is what Kira was saying. We are all portals. The heart is a portal. We live in a portal of now. And we do indeed have access to the wisdom of the infinite in our forms, in our existence, in every moment of time, if we will stay open and participate fully in who we are and who we came to be. I think it was Wendy Kennedy said, we are the living library cards in physical form. I really like that. Opening to grace, opening to grace, opening to grace. Accepting the innate wisdom that is available to us. Thank you. Blessings.
Hey, Alan.
That was great,
I-
Annalisa. I just want to say that, right, Annalisa. I wish you could be in that state all the time.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right.
You can see Alan into Alan's apartment there. I can barely get to sleep at Alan's apartment. There is just so much between books and CDs and cassettes and DVDs and his interviews, literally hundreds and hundreds of interviews over the years.
Right.
If anybody really has anything worth saying. Alan, I'd like you to talk about ET and consciousness, because I know you've been on the scene, you've been in the soup, in the mix for as long as I've known you,
Right.
and many, many years before. You know, and I know you don't get a chance a lot, aside from moderating and hosting a lot of these events. I know that you have a lot to say about ET and consciousness, and I know a lot of it's going to be in the book. When is the book going to be out again?
My book, which is not just my book, it's a collection of essays by probably, well, the people I consider the top in the UFO field, coming out next June. I'm going to premiere it or launch it at Contact in the Desert, which is the best and biggest gathering of people like us on the planet. That's going to be the first weekend in June 2021, right near Palm Springs, Indian Wells, California, if it all goes to plan. So yeah, this is a collection, just a little bit about the book, a collection by the best. Linda Moulton Howe is in the book, Whitley Strieber. I mean, do people know these? These are the top line. I mean, Whitley is the guy who gave us the ET image with the big eyes, small mouth, small nose, the gray image. He was the first to really make that into an icon of ETs, and from there out, everyone said, "Oh yeah, that's what ETs look like." But Whitley was the first. His book Communion came out in 1985, and it was about his own experiences. And before he had a conscious experience, he was writing a lot of horror novels, which were a subconscious way to deal with the trauma. So anyway, I have Linda and Whitley. I have an unpublished essay from John Mack, who was a Harvard psychiatrist, teacher of psychiatry at Harvard University. And he was the first to really legitimize the abduction scenario and saying people aren't crazy. There's something valid to what's going on with them. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into them, but I want to talk about consciousness in general. But those are some of the people, Grant Cameron and who else, Mary Rodwell. The regulars are in the book. But what I would like to say about consciousness and ETs is that these beings function on another level of awareness. They are tracked by these. This is my interpretation. Every star emits a frequency. So when you're meeting a being from another star, it's as if this is just my theory, their mind energies are not synchronized to the energies of our star. And we have to sort of adapt ourselves to these frequency adjustments, consciousness adjustments. And that's what we're doing as we come into group. Each consciousness is set by the star that dictates its functionality. So when you see another ET, they are communicating with us telepathically, but we're not able to receive them, or some people who are opening, but their language is much more abstract. This is my theory, and it's also in Whitley Strieber's latest book called The New World. So he's saying, you know, in physics, we collapse the wave function or create the reality around us. If you know quantum physics, there is no collapse wave function in the ET consciousness. All probability are functioning. In order for them to communicate with us, they have to sort of own into a concretizing of theme in order to send us a message. But their consciousness, sort of like dolphin consciousness, it's very multi-dimensional. They're functioning on many, many timelines at once. So that's sort of how they can flip in and out of our dimension, just shift timelines because of their conscious will. At least that's what I think. There's no proof anything I'm saying. Of course, anything anyone has said about ETs, except their own personal experience, is the only thing that we can really go by. And I've had personal experiences which really made me obsessed with the subject. Before 1987, I thought, oh yeah, there probably are ETs out there. But driving cross country, I had a time where I parked on the side of the road. I was coming back from the West Coast. I was with this girlfriend, and throughout the night we were frozen. It looks like we couldn't move, and we, in a way, time stopped for us. And it's I didn't much about that until I got back to New York and saw this mark on the back of my leg. It was a 4-puncture mark. And I said, oh, that's interesting. It was on the back of my knee. And who looks at the back of their knee, right? But I was talking to some people hanging out with the Bud Hopkins intruder groups, and one said, yeah, that is a mark of being taken aboard. And it was only till years later that I was regressed back to that point when I was on the side of the road and saw these beings that really didn't look like what Whitley had. I think the only person to come close to describing what I saw is this cartoonist, not really a cartoonist, but let me see if I can find some of these pictures. And these pictures, when I saw these drawings, I knew these are the beings I saw. They don't have any distinct features. They're much more abstract, and they're very much connected to multi-dimensional geometry, sacred geometries that happen on hyperdimensional planes. So let me see if I can find these pictures, because when I was regressed back to this point of contact, these images came to me, and I realized I don't know where these beings are from. I don't know who they are, or let me just see if I can find some of them, because but they were very nice, benevolent beings. Here, I'll show you one of them in the chat. Can I screen share, Phil? Can you make me a screen sharer?
Yeah.
Enable attend to screen share.
Okay, you're the
All
host
right.
now. Okay.
All right, thank you. The host with the most, really. Okay. Now, this image, these beings,
Wow.
this is sort of these kind of, and you can see within the structure, there's all the codes of light. And I don't think they're necessarily in the body of these things, but they're emanating. You see up here in the top, they're emanating these codes. But we have yet to develop the facility of consciousness to understand what these codes mean. They're sort of like language of light codes. Jody Sirota does them. But if you tune into them, you can get a sense of what it is, but maybe some people can get it, but I haven't developed the facility to actually translate these light language codes into meaning. So,
Alan, can you keep that up for a second?
Yeah.
Keep that up on the screen. Is this one of Brian DeFlores's?
No, this is a woman. Is it still? I'm going to find who this woman was. She's really brilliant.
Just like you're right, Alan. Just like a lot of light language that's chanted or sung or spoken or toned, a lot of people are getting the same light languages because they're the closest to us genetically. I mean, you look. Oh, hold on. There are mother tongues, and what you're looking at is not that much different than this. These schematics.
Wait, let me stop screen. Wait, what is that? Wait, show that again, Phil.
It's just like this is a motherboard, you know? It's a circuit.
Oh, it's a motherboard.
A lot of these light languages, you're getting really the anatomy of the human spirit. You're getting the circuitry. You're getting all the hyper transdimensional energy flows, the paths to find the gates of light within you to open up. It's really our true multidimensional anatomy that we're learning or relearning or remembering.
Okay.
And this is why a lot of light language not only sounds the same, but feels the same, feels so familiar. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
More.
I'm going to show this. I found the woman. Her name is Tamara Jones. I've never met her, but I love her work. She's quite a brilliant
the one in the magenta. Can you highlight that one? Wow.
Oh, you mentioned all these. She's really tapped into something. Yeah, look
Holy.
at that. So these sacred
Wow.
geometries are the structures of consciousness itself. They
Mhm.
are the passageways of telepathic thought, and they are go back to the original matrix of the universe. And so she has encoded these. Kamara Jones, her Instagram is ArtSoldier77, and I think I would definitely want to do an interview with her, because when I saw these, they actually brought back a memory of who these beings were. But she was I don't even know if she knows what she's doing, but maybe she does. Maybe she's that. Oh, let me show you this one. That. So these are languages. This is a whole download of information. This is what we're seeking to attain as we become more conscious of the multidimensional realities. But you see, most people don't have the capacity to understand this. I'm not putting anyone down, but their life is so full of drama. Does this person like me? Who should I marry? What should I wear? What food should I buy? What rest? I mean, that we have to let go of all that stuff and get the information if you want it. Most people don't even care about this, but there's information that will open us up to, I guess, more sensation, more fun, more the kingdom of God, if you want to call it that. This is our future. And this woman really captured it, because she's quite brilliant. And these are doorways to consciousness. And I have no idea what this means, but I know it means something. I know it. Let me go back to you, Phil. What do you got, Phil?
Yeah,
Show
this is
us.
from Alma. This is one of the Alma drawings. This was a woman who lived in Ontario, way up in the north. I think it was in her 70s. She had a visitation of Jesus and a panther. And one of Jesus' secret names is Yeshua ben Pantera, son of the panther, or uh, there's also a theory that the Pantaras were a secret sect within the Essenes. Anyway, she had this vision of Jesus and a panther, and her hand started moving, and it never stopped until she died. This is one of the Alma drawings. And the doctors Hertak would call a lot of this stuff the eye drawings, or the Kitab Anayim. There are hundreds and hundreds of sigils, angelic signatures in this, hyperdimensional geometries, operational instructions. There were Tibetan lamas that were touring Canada, and they recognized a lot of their deities in the Alma drawings. You can look it up on the internet, the Alma, A-L-M-A. She drew on everything. When she ran out of canvases, she painted the walls, the toilet. I mean, it was unbelievable. Her hand never stopped. She had no idea what she was doing on a conscious level, but of course on a super conscious level. And a lot of people are getting this. This is why, if you're not, don't think because you're not toning or chanting or singing or doing like Judy Satori, that you're not capable of giving light, of producing light language. Everything is light language. It may be painting for you. It may be art. It may be poetry. It may be just healing by your presence alone.
Right. I want to show a picture I think everyone will get, okay? Because I think it is not a language, but do you see this one? The emanation out of the navel there, and it's like creation comes into our field through our navel, which is the crack in the aura. So we may not have words for this, but and there's sort of a stream coming out of this navel into this little hand of this being. We don't have words for this, but we can get and we can intuit a sort of message here. And here's another one that I just really love. This one's incredible. This is how I feel the multidimensional realities are constantly intersecting with our fields, and our mental conditioning has has to work overtime in order to block out these highly cryptic influences that are coming into us all the time. I wonder if I can play this. And here's another one. You see that? These are. This is in a sense who we really are. This is what we're becoming, and where we're going with all that. So I mean, you know what's relevant to this is a video by Seth. Did you ever see Jane Roberts' channel, Phil?
Oh yeah, very
Have you
familiar
ever
with
seen the
the
channel?
material. Yeah.
But have you ever seen the actual channeling?
Yes, once, and I know that you have video. Yes, you have very rare video of her actually channeling. You had that. It would be great
I
if you
do
could
have
find
that.
that. This
Let
would
me
be
see
a
if I
real
can.
treat to actually. I know a lot of you out there are familiar with the Jane Roberts Seth material, and if you're
Yeah,
not,
this
it's very, very good to get familiar with it.
Seth, Jane Roberts was really, everyone's a channel these days, but before Jane Roberts, it was not
Yeah.
quite a popular pastime. And this was in the 70s. So Jane Roberts was, let me just stop sharing. I'll find it. Jane Roberts was one of the first to
Yeah.
really.
In the meantime, while you're looking for that, Hildegard, you're here, right? It's because of Hildegard that a lot of you are joining this call. I guess it was through Grant Cameron, through that light language panel that I first got to know Hildegard and connect with her and the Toronto Experiencers group. Yeah?
Yes, that's
And that has just been wonderful, meeting these people
Hey.
and reconnecting with people in the experiencers, not just in Toronto, but all over the world. Before you show the Jane Roberts, Hildy, can you share
No,
what you
I just want to ask
saw?
Hildegard, did you get anything from those images I just showed? Did that speak to you at all?
I just wrote in the chat, they make me shiver, like I was given from my Andromedan contacts images, like again, everything's picture, right? I just don't have the facility to draw, at least it's not active yet. And I was shown the body, the human body, an up and down pointing triangle, the head, same in the neck, and then the torso, one up and one down pointing triangle, and then all the extremities as well. And I didn't get it, and I got really frustrated. I said, why the hell? I need some concrete help here. Why are you showing me all of this? And it was said, it's you, pay attention. Look at the sunflower, like walking down the beach or looking at something in nature. I was always given these little bits and pieces of, that's where you have to look. Well, why? I never answered why, but it would come to me that it's in the sacred geometry that I would find my own existence, my true authentic self, by lying on the grass and looking at the little creatures that you see when you look into the earth, or just lie on the back and look up into the sky on a sunny day, and I could see this grid thing. It's almost like a spider's web, noticeable, and you kind of soft focus the eyes. You could see this, I don't know what you call it, flower.
Oh, that's the grid. You're seeing the grid of the matrix of the planet, of the galaxy, actually. You're seeing lots of people talk about the grid. Rantha would always talk about focusing on the grid. Yeah.
Alan, something's coming through. Something's coming through that we need to do a part 3.
Okay.
That we.
But wait, I want to hear the rest of. I want to hear the rest of Hildegard's what she said.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so what I was saying is that this was shortly after I had my walk-in experience, and I was kind of living in these very two different worlds, trying to make sense of what happened. And the three-dimensional world told me, well, you have 3 kids and your baby, you know, it's enough to drive anybody nuts. Take some Prozac and it will go away. And so I was looking actively
Great,
at
that's great advice. No,
it's
no.
great advice.
Worked for me.
But I didn't want it to go away. I wanted to know what is going on. So long story short, these observations of sacred geometry were showing me that I was not alone, that I was connected to something. I just didn't know what I was connected. The only thing I knew, it wasn't these people I was connected to, because they were all nuts. Either I was crazy or they were losing it. I felt like I was dumped into a reality that I didn't belong to, and I suffered from this. Why am I here for? I love these little kids, but I'm going to show you this. This is when you go into the fall and you collect little acorns.
Yeah.
You can whistle with them if you know how. But this is one of these objects of meditations that I carry around with me still, or I have them in my hand, and it gives me information. Suddenly I have this aha, and I'm going, wow, now I get it. They don't get it, but I don't know what I'm getting. You know, it was helping me really wake up. And Seth Speaks, and you know, the Cryon books, and the Bringers of the Dawn, and all of these books in the early 90s was what helped me think, well, what if I'm not crazy? What is, all people are geniuses, they just don't know it. And I think what Phil, your work is all about kindling the genius in each and every one of us, and coming out of the illusion that we are victims of circumstance and are powerless, you know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's
Alan,
great.
did you find
Thank
it?
you. Yeah, I found it, but do you want to talk about any direct ET experiences, Hildegard?
Yeah, so I don't even want to know whether, I can't say whether it's ET. To me, these are other dimensional beings from Andromeda.
I agree.
I had a soul contract. Apparently, that's what my understanding is. So this was like 28 years ago when I walked into this body of this stay-at-home mom with 3 little children, living this typical suburban life. And from one day to the next, I fainted all over the place. Nobody could figure out what was going on. And when I awakened, I realized I didn't have a body. Like, I was one day walking my kids to school, or running after somebody who was heading for the road, or I was in a grocery store, on an escalator in a department store, and then suddenly the lights would go out. It was like you closing a theater curtain. And then in the next frame, everything is kind of like movie frames. I was realizing that I didn't have a body. And I'd hear a voice. I could feel, I could hear. And I'm thinking, am I dead? Did the doctor finally, you know, they had said, next time your head hits the pavement, you may be dying of a heart attack, and these can be deadly the first time around. So I was initially thinking I'm dead, but then I was surrounded by these amazing beings, long platinum colored hair, almond shaped eyes, bigger than ours, perfect skin. They were wearing these opal, imagine an opal on a nice sunny day, had these sparkling suits on, and they looked beautiful, no older than maybe 28, 30, if at all. And then suddenly I had a body, a white looking physiology like the one I'm in here. and there were 4 by my side, 2 by my feet, and 2 by my head. And the person closest to my right is looking at me. And I'm going, yeah, that's cool. I agree. That's wonderful. Fantastic. Like I felt really comfortable there. And I remember agreeing with everything they were saying to me. I didn't feel scared. I can't relate to people who say, oh, extraterrestrial contacts, if I may call them extraterrestrials. I think they are other dimensional beings, and I'm a part of their plan, if you so will, and volunteer to come into this 3D halfway through my life. And I feel that for me, it's not about out there. There's nothing really out there. It's all in here. I'm a part of them. I am the person that in the 3D was looking for something out there to help me because I was conditioned to believe that I wasn't smart or powerful or wise enough to take care of myself. And over the years of trying to figure out who am I and what makes me tick, I came to discover that I multidimensionally exist simultaneously. So my partner Louis Marr from Botas Andromeda is in essence a future part of Hildegard sitting in 2020 here, the mom of the 4 kids and who had these issues way back then and who had to collapse the belief of Catholicism and separateness and, oh, you are all strangers, I better not talk to you, you're scary people. You know, this is all, to me now, so remote, the way I saw the world. And yet I exist in that third dimensional world and I love it. Doesn't matter what it is. I totally finally arrived in this realm with my 3D and my 7D and with all the walk-in friends I found and all the experiences in Toronto and Grant Cameron giving me the kick in the butt when I needed it to start speaking about my experience. The book on walk-ins by Sheila Seppi is out. She was on Phil's.
Yeah, Sheila was going to try to make it today, but she'll make it for part 3.
Yeah, so go to walk-ins.org and you can learn all about that. So anyway, thank you so much.
I'm applauding you, Hildegard. That is great. That is a great overview of our multidimensional existence. Thank you. And you're so honest and raw and just yourself. I mean, you don't hold it back. You just tell it like it is. And thank you. That's so good.
And it's still scary to do that because this is relatively new for me as well, because I felt like a fake person doing the 3D thing, but never really share what's really going on the inside and what I know to be so. So, you know.
It's really important that you share that because you help other people who feel the same way that may not have the same facilities to communicate, but I think the more all of
wonderful. Unfortunately, it starts at 7 in the morning for me, but
what's your
information if people want to join.
What is your group? What kind of group is it, Hildegard?
Yeah, so the Toronto Experiences group is a group of people who came together based on the initiative of Grant Cameron. He and I coincidentally met at a conference in 2016. And he said, why don't you start an experiencer group after I, for the very first time, told my story on this event. And so people came out to support me here, like Tanny and Lois, and oh no, Carl isn't here, and Kevin. I don't know if you had Kevin Estrella on Pyramids on Mars. Carol, Stacy, I see you. April, all the way.
Ross, he is here. Tanny, yeah.
Yeah. So, Ross, yeah. Where's Ross? There he is.
Grant has
Ross,
a chapter in my upcoming.
There he is. Okay. Didn't recognize him so far away.
Oh, there's Ross. Oh, so
Yeah.
this is a lot of your group.
So
Yeah,
we
I think
are,
Grant.
we are meeting to,
But
and
go
the
ahead.
idea is to give opportunity for people who are awakening or already know they're on a certain journey to express what's so for them. Because if you go in downtown Toronto to a medical doctor and say, hey, listen, I'm a walking from Andromeda, I'm a consciousness scientist from the ninth dimensional reality, you know,
Yeah.
obviously there's no
Yeah.
place to go for people. And when I came across a book you mentioned,
There's a place they'll take you.
yeah,
No.
right. You don't want to go there though.
Wait.
You
When
don't
you
want to
said
go. You don't wanna go.
you came across what book was it, Hildegard?
You know the Harvard professor Mack.
Mac.
When
Yeah.
I came across his book, oh my God, it was like Christmas. I was ready to book a ticket to go and meet the guy, and then I found out he was gone.
Alan was one
I
of the
know.
first to interview the first guard, Mac, Bud, all these people you
Bud
have in
Hoffman.
the archives.
but-
You really should release these
But
early.
John Mack is going to be in this book I'm publishing. I got an unpublished essay from his estate, and he says some brilliant things, and so is Grant. Grant, I think, is one of the best researchers out there. He really has an important place in our history here.
For
So-
sure. And,
Where you from originally, Hildegard?
oh, the body was initially born in Germany
Uh-huh. But you-
and then lived in South Africa and Canada. And then at 33, had left and a new software came in. I mean,
That's
now
what
we have technology, we can talk about these things, but try to talk to anybody in the early 90s about a software upgrade or a network glitch or any such thing. We didn't have words
Right.
to talk about the stuff, right? So how did you?
You're absolutely right.
And so grabbing onto these books and finally meeting people who had a glimpse. There was a fellow, Ernie and Inga was a couple. They had in their living room every other week or once a month, a meeting starting in the 50s of people who were awakening. And Ernie channeled Haton from, Haton is, I think, part of the Ashtar Command or something like that. And I remember that we happened to move into that street, had a big street festival. My partner talks to this woman, I'm talking to this guy. The people turn out to be husband and wife. And then my partner says, I think she's losing her marbles. I really need to put her on the couch. Can you see whether she really can do these things or is she making this up? So they put Ernie in a trance and put me in a trance in a separate room. She had a list of questions. And then she said, well, if she comes up with the right answers, then, you know, there's nothing to worry about. It's all very normal. But I was still so negative, worried that there was something wrong with me. And it turned out that we both came, well, where are you from? Botes, Andromeda. You know, all the details that they asked me. That's when they also ask about Mount Shasta. And because they would go to Mount Shasta all the time. And apparently at some point had been invited to live there, but they weren't ready to stay there. They still had a kid in college and a couple of young grandchildren. They were not ready to stay. And that was so weird because when my friend Tenny, who is with us here, said she was going to go to Mount Shasta, suddenly I'm thinking back, oh my God, this couple, these were a couple of the first people in the 3D world I could actually talk to. They could actually explain what might have happened. But they said, we're not going to tell you an awful lot what we think, because the whole idea is for you to find your own way and live according to your own truths. We don't want to put stuff into your head. You have to figure this out yourself, which frustrated me, yet was very, very helpful.
No, that's great. So anyone could join your group because it's online?
Yes, we meet every Wednesday, 7 p.m. at Zoom. So I have my email in the chat, so just email me. And again, the idea is to share your truths, share your experiences, because we are all holding a very significant piece to somebody else's puzzle. We all are teachers, and we all are students, and we all stand on the shoulders of others. So I could use
Definitely.
a couple of writing helpers or editors if anybody knows anybody, because this is a struggle I'm dealing with right now to get this manuscript, Your Universe, Your Way, published, which is all about my personal journey, but it's not very personal at this point. It's not my story. It's about helping people to understand how the guidance works, how to live guided from within, because our soul voice doesn't yell at us via a ghetto blaster. Hey, Hildegard, hey, Hildegard. There are these subtle little clues, and we have to be able to follow the breadcrumbs. And if there's no cheese down that tunnel, well, what was the other hunch you had? You know what I mean?
No, that's exactly what the Seth clip talks about. So that is a great lead in, because Hildegard's right. We are getting these streams of multidimensional thought that we just ignore because it doesn't make sense in our normal reality. But anyway, Seth talked about this in 1973.
Yeah.
Are we ready for that? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. And this was way ahead of its time, and it's only now that I think people really appreciate the scope of Jane Roberts' Seth work.
Yeah.
And this was in the 70s. It lasted probably about 10, 15 years. But then, you know, it's been swallowed up by all the other great channels that have come along. But this particularly is a great, this was done by my friend Harold Tanner. This is the only video of Jane Roberts channeling Seth. I put this on my YouTube channel, and it's, you know, also added the subtitles. So let me do a screen share here, Phil, and here we go. This is the first Jane Roberts Seth book called Seth Speaks, and let me see if you can
This
hear
is
all
really
this.
special. This is rare. This is great.
I didn't know that.
A random thought that does not seem to fit in with what you are doing or think at the time, and so you dismiss it. It seems random because it does not appear to fit in with your organized picture of reality, but it is an important mosaic that you throw away. So I also joyfully and playfully and creatively challenge each of you to become more and more aware of your waking experience and of those stray thoughts that come in your terms like thieves in the night. They are not official. You do not accept them. The intellect says, oh, no. Listen to those thoughts. Open your mind, mate, further. In your ordinary waking life, in the middle of your ordinary pursuits, and see what miracles are there. And I say, miracles. Miracles because they can help but transform your own understanding and your own reality. Be gentle with your own experience. Your fields of your own being are filled with flowers that you do not recognize. You do not stop to look at them or smell their odors. They are not official flowers or official food. Sometimes you try to be too practical. You have lovely eyes. Those eyes do not try to be practical. They see out of the joy of their being. They do not hustle themselves. They see together and in being themselves, they see for you. The reality of the atoms and molecules that exist within the eye, that vision is far different. And yet there is no disagreement between your official reality and those unofficial realities that sometimes sneak through. Come on. Kim,
That's something you don't get to see every day.
Wow.
You don't get to see, I've talked
Yeah.
to clairvoyants that actually see the transition between her trance state. Jane was somewhere between a full trance channel and a conscious channel. And remember, channels do the best they can of transducing,
Yeah, I don't think she was
translating
that, I don't,
extremely sophisticated
I don't
language.
was that, Phil, I don't think she was that conscious. I think she was pretty much a full trance channel, I have to say,
pretty,
because
yeah,
the voice,
yeah, pretty
it's
much.
kind of creepy at first, but you can
Yeah.
feel like there's a real
Yeah.
passion to communicate with us from those levels. What did you think, Hildegard, of that?
Well, I mean, it just makes me shiver to be able to see Jane Roberts. Like, this is just unreal. But the point is, the unmanifest makes itself known in the manifest, and she talks about that. Or Pute, a professor, doctor, I think he was a physicist, P-E-A-T, Pete. He said there is an implicit universe, and everything in the explicit, in the visible, has its origin in the implicit. So we're talking
Right.
The
That's
implicit
David
order.
Bone. David Bone started the implicit versus the explicit. You're right. What you're talking about, Hildegard, and what I think we're all trying to get beyond this exterior and feel into the implicit experience that we're part of these. There are no ETs, I agree. It's all everything. We are that. So
we are it. But an
because
example,
we're
if I may just throw an example of how the implicit knocks at my door. So case in point, I bought a house, I needed to leave the city, and it was a long distance move. And suddenly my van acts up and I'm facing with having to buy a new car. So I had a budget, I wanted to use that budget to buy that car. But this other part of me, the observer on the mountain, the higher self, the universal self, call it what you wish, said no. My logic said yes. My conditioning was I don't want a car loan. I don't want to go into debt. I have a mortgage. I don't even know how to take care of that. No more debt. So in 1 hour, I get run off the highway by a truck, almost like I'm swerving to the side by a big truck, says Chrysler Canada on it. So I'm going to the grocery store, doing my jumping jacks, the adrenaline is still flowing, grab some groceries. At the cash register is a guy with a bomber jacket. It reads Chrysler, Canada. This is the second time I'm confronted with Chrysler in less than 20 minutes. I do my grocery shopping. I rushed to the school. My kids were all small at the time. I made it to the parking lot. And who would I see leaning against the pickup truck with a double-page newspaper with a double-page ad of Chrysler, Canada? I'm
Right.
going, I get it. Why is this significant? Because I found the ideal car at a Chrysler, Canada dealership very close to my home. Yet I had dismissed it because it would mean I have to go and get a car loan, and I had it in my head, I just got a mortgage, how can I add a car loan to that? But
Right.
seeing
But
Chrysler,
the
Canada,
universe,
I got the picture that I need to go and get that car. So I picked up
Yeah.
my kids, I said, we're gonna go to McDonald's, and they were, hooray! We picked up
No.
the car. Now here's the kicker.
I'm so happy you started to listen, because we all get those little things, and we don't listen, we get it louder and louder until, like, boom. Yes.
Exactly. And you
Yeah,
know what?
thank-
As things turned out, if I had taken the one I could pay cash for, I would have been so screwed, because life evolved in a way that I needed that car. Not only did I have 4 kids and a dog and was moving, but the whole, how life evolved after that, it was just so perfect. It's just my logical conditioned mind couldn't get it. And we have this battle between that which we think is safe and that which that we don't know much about. We don't have all the details, all the facts. And that's where we
Right.
get ourselves in a tizzy. And when I listen to that, you know, hair standing up, or this, it's like ants jumping up and down in my spinal column, when I act on it, even though I don't have all the facts, this always turns out. So this, to me, is Jane Roberts saying, you know, listen to that which sneaks in, like the Chrysler Canada 3 times in an
Right.
hour.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments about anything that they heard here? Comments on Jane? Pierre, I saw you shaking your head before, like agreeing with. Do you have anything to say? Wait, let me unmute you. Unmute yourself. I'm trying to unmute you. Unmute. Yeah, Pierre. Can wait, I'm just trying to unmute. Oh yeah, there you go.
Hi, yeah, I'm part of Hildegard's Toronto Experiences group.
Oh,
Johnny actually introduced me to that group. Yeah, he's not here today, but yeah, the Seth Roberts was, you know, I had seen that video a while ago. I don't know on your YouTube channel, because I am subscribed.
It's out there.
Yeah,
Out there, yeah.
very powerful. I remember reading that book about 10 years ago, I think it was, that I read it first. I've read it 3 times because it just is a book that you can read over and over again, and it just evolves.
Well, there's 10 different books. There's
Yeah.
The Nature of Personal Reality. But do you want to share any of your ET experiences?
I've had, I would say, more angelic visions.
Oh,
and
share that.
So I've seen them in my room, and I know that I'm not completely asleep. It's actually like a lucid state, and I do have a lot of good dreaming experiences. But with the angels, it's very visceral. It's a lot of light, and they're speaking to me, but not verbally. I don't even know how to explain it. it's not like it's a language that I can't understand. They just are speaking, and I'm actually in my mind hearing it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's.
But do you know what they're communicating though? Do you have get a message of something?
Yeah, definitely that they are holding a hell of a lot of light here for the last, I don't know how many centuries, but that since 2008, it's kind of been amplified. And every year it's been amplified since 2008 from what I've been hearing from them. And it's really about us staying in the heart-brain coherence. And that's the thing that's going to let us live in the 5D, or if we want to go to the 5D. And it's really about feeling that heart-brain connection. And they're just, they're saying that they can't lower their vibration for us. So we must elevate ours to be able to feel them, see them more, communicate with them, because they will not actually lower their vibration. And last year I was at a Dr. Joe Dispenza 1 week intensive. I don't know if anyone here knows who he is, but he's
just an old friend of mine, but yeah, he's great.
He's amazing. And I experienced his week-long intensive last year, and I did apply to have a coherence healing, which is a healing they do at the end of the week. And basically it's just everyone in a heart love connection. He amps everybody up for about an hour before the people that are getting the healing. And it's really just about being in the love vibration for 45 minutes. And I cannot describe how amazing that was. I never felt my body, like I didn't even have a body. I just was feeling pure light. There were these huge beings. I don't know if they were maybe 20 feet tall. They were huge. And I could see them with my eyes. My eyes were closed the whole time. Because I had asked somebody, I said, did my eyes open while you were giving me the healing? And they said, no, your eyes were closed, but you were kind of shaking and moving. But I said, I saw like these amazing, huge light beings. I don't know if they were ETs. I don't know.
Joe talks about those beings. He has talked about them.
Yeah. And I really didn't know about that till after. So it wasn't like I, was pre-planning that or anything. Like I didn't really know that he had seen those beings or that he was in contact with them. But that was incredible. And I've never felt my body like that high in my life. Like it was the most intense vibration I've ever felt. And I didn't want to leave. Like it was just immense. And I had some physical conditions, and that's why I had applied for that. And I have not been better since. Like it's just been amazing how much my body physically has changed since that whole healing happened. And it was the healing between the people that were there, but also these beings. And it was really all about, again, and I repeat it, like the whole heart-brain coherence thing is really what I feel is going to help us transition, especially this year, through all this crazy lower vibration stuff. And the more that we do this heart-brain connection, the better we are to navigate the next 6 to 12 months, because I do feel it's going to be sort of rough at times. And if we don't have these tools, we may get sucked into other things.
Right. Thank you. No, you're absolutely right. We need this time to practice heart brain. How would we do do you recommend just getting Joe's tape, or is there a way we could do it without?
It's just really about setting the intention of feeling your heart center and then breathing in and out of that space. So you begin that way, and you can put your hand on your heart. And I often do this during the day. I'm just sort of it kind of happens. And then it's about feeling a higher emotion, an elevated emotion. It could be gratitude, it could be joy, love, and you conjure up that feeling. And if it needs to be like that, you think of your puppy dog, or you think of an ascended master you're connected to, or an angel, or someone you truly love. It's about conjuring up that feeling and then feeling that vibration as you breathe in and out of your heart, and maintaining that in a meditation. And you will extend your heart kind of energy outwards. And that's what we need to do right now, as much as we can, so that people are actually awakened. And I feel if most of us start to do this, especially in our community, in this light community, this light workers community, we just start to extend this light from our heart, because our heart has a very powerful electromagnetic field. And it's no coincidence that they're asking us to stay 6 feet apart, right? So it's, this is why, it's important for us to try to extend that every single day, because it will have an effect on your whole life and all the people around you. And if we can just start to affect people around us, then they will affect, and it just has that sort of multiplying effect. Yeah, it's powerful stuff, right? It's really with 5D, it's about the heart energy.
Right. 5D, not 5G. Right.
Yeah, right.
Thanks for your name is
Piera.
Piera? Thanks, Piera. That's great. So Phil, what do you think? Anybody else you want to?
Well, we're definitely in the home stretch here. I want to do a part 3, probably within a couple of weeks. And when you get the write-up, when you get the announcement for it, please share it, please post it. We're going to get down to brass tacks. Not that we haven't tonight, but next week I want to talk about how humans are chosen for contact. I want to talk about what not to do in visitor contact, claiming your right to choose. I want to talk about realizing your role as an empowered contactee, posturing for empowerment in contact, who is contacting us and why, the primary agendas of visitors. And I'm going to name names. I want to talk about the primary types of indigos, especially the type 1s and type 2s. A couple of techniques to posture yourself to create a platform, first for subtle contact, and then hopefully, God willing, physical contact, which a lot of us have had in childhood, which I'll talk about the next time. So when you get the announcement for part 3, and we'll have everyone here is invited. We'll also have Steve Popuek on the next one. Hopefully we'll have Don back. We'll also have Sheila back. Hopefully, Tani, hopefully you can get Heidi back, right? Hildegard, that were the Heidi and Elena back from the other night. So we'll have something old, something blue, something borrowed, something new, something whatever. And we're gonna get down to brass tacks, because I think people also really, really want to know why they're being chosen for contact, where the contact is coming from, the basic structure of multidimensional reality, where the stargates are, why the Earth is so, why everybody during these ascension cycles, what exactly is happening on the planet now, why we are being contacted, what the agendas are of the primary visitor races. I think it's important that we understand that. And coming together like this, I think, is the real key. Like you said, Piera, coming together as community is more important now than ever. However it looks on the outside, that's how it's going to look on the outside. And certainly we can have some influence over that. But like Alan said before, coming together like this in fellowship, in community, is probably the most important thing, sharing what we can do for each other now, given the challenges, the existential challenges that we're facing.
Well, are you wrapping up, is there anyone who wants to share anything that,
Last word.
about their experience?
Well, Vincent's
Who's
going
got-
to get the last word. I always promise him to get the last word. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions or comments for
Tanny.
everybody
Tanny.
before we wrap up?
Oh, wait, Tanny has something to say. Go ahead, Tanny.
Yeah, when we were talking about the heart, I do this exercise from the Heart Math Institute, where you put your hand on your heart and the other hand on the below your belly, right? Because that's where all your emotions are. And then you breathe with your nose, right? Because then your abdomen gets inflated, right? Because you're not supposed to breathe through your mouth. Exhale or inhale through your nose. And then you try to feel the beat of your heart and then also your breathing, and try to synchronize in some way the breathing of your breathing with the beat of your heart. And then your heart starts slowing down and you feel, and then with your intention, you direct your intention. If there's a part in your body that needs healing, you direct energy to that part of your body that needs healing. Yeah, it's a very powerful meditation exercise with your heart and your breathing. And you can the Heart Math Institute teaches this. Yeah.
Thank you.
And also Greg Braden also teaches a lot about the power of the heart, right? Greg Braden. Yeah, okay, that's what I wanted to say.
Also, anyone have an experience?
Go ahead, Alan. No, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering if anyone had an experience that they really feel they definitely need to share on this round.
I could share one.
That.
I could share another one. Well, the first one I shared happened in Sedona, and that was in
What about anyone who hasn't shared yet?
I'm sorry, come again?
I was wondering if there's anyone who hasn't shared yet would want to share something.
Oh, okay. I'll wait.
But,
well, I don't want to forget this, but I just got wind that Donald Trump is being nominated for a Nobel Prize. Well, be that as it may, I would like to nominate Don Conreaux for the Nobel Peace Prize. I think no one has ever been more deserving of a Peace Prize. I know we don't think in terms of prizes. We're not doing this for the prize. The prize is in the doing it. But if I could, Don, every year I would nominate you for the Peace Prize. I think the work you're doing and the work you have been doing for world peace been unparalleled, beyond measure. And I just want to thank you. I love you so much, man. And I always have.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, let's finish up with Annalisa's Sedona experience, okay?
Well, that was actually the one that I did share, where I was on a love ship vehicle, and like yours, I was driving, and the light and power went out in the car, and they set the clock back an hour. But that was the Love and Light services where Jesus Sananda was on board, and and it was like he was making rounds on a hospital, and evidently that night they took up half of Sedona. But the one that I was going to mention was an in-person encounter. There was a man who was kind of eyeing me at a health food store in Santa Monica, and I didn't think much of it. I just kind of like, oh, okay, people look at you when you're young and female, and I just kind of left. And my car was in the shop, so I caught a bus, went to Westwood to see a movie, and he was in the movie theater. And I walked up to him and I said, "Excuse me, but are you following me?" And he said, "Well, yes, I am." And I wasn't expecting that. And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, I'm an observer." And I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I come from the sun and I'm observing the human race." And he said, I will make a decision in the future that will determine the way the planet goes. And I was so afraid I could kick myself now because I didn't go to have coffee with him. I freaked out and went to see the movie. And I should have just gone and interviewed him and found out some more, but I was too scared. But that was back in, 88, 89.
All right.
And anyway, they're here. They're here. There's a lot of different. Anyway, but he told me a little bit about being on the sun, you know, why he came. And when I asked if he worked for the light or the dark, he said that he was neutral, which I thought was very interesting.
Alan, just before we finish up, if anybody has any final comments or blessings or benedictions or this or that, I just want to say that as a...
Vincent gets the last word.
Oh, Vincent always gets the last word. To remind ourselves to view ourselves as equal to any visitor. And this is going to be the preliminary for part 3. View yourself as equal to any visitor. It's very important. Know that each and every one of us have the potential to be just as evolved and advanced through the integration of our higher dimensions of consciousness, through activation of our dormant DNA. Remember to always hold your own power of decision and authority over your evolutionary destiny, okay? You can learn from visitors, but let no other being stand between you and your personal connection to source, okay? And be willing to take personal responsibility for our conscious evolution. And don't expect others, either here on Earth or among the visitors, to direct our evolution for us, becoming responsible for ourselves and our multidimensional anatomy and the reality of that and how we're all connected as part of growing up to spiritual maturity. So I just wanted to put that out as an introduction to part 3. Okay, Alan? My
It
best
sounds
man.
good. Thank you. I think you could go deeper, Phil. I think a lot of us are beyond those sort of ET introductory levels. I think we want to merge more with the higher consciousness. It's not about keeping them away, about welcoming them in. Anyway, but let's hear what Vincent, because Vincent said yes to that. Was that you, Vincent?
Yes, that was me. So I'm glad we're talking about a part 3 because I've been thinking about this all along, in that what I feel like is that we're not allowing ourselves to communicate with ETs or UFOs. And I think we have the ability. It's, you know, the difference is it's not a mental communication. It's not in words. It's more of an emotional communication. And that's what I'd hope we can discuss. I mean, we've had some really interesting stories tonight, and some of them have been, you know, new versions of old stories. And rather than tell stories, I'd rather talk about the ability and understanding our ability to communicate. And some of the pictures that Alan showed, when Phil said they're motherboards, it made complete sense to me. And because in looking at them with that concept, I started to pick up what they're telling us. And so that's what I really love to look at, you know. And there's another thing is that I work with people that have autism sometimes. And what I know about people with autism is that they're not in their body. They're connected to their body by a cord. And the reason they don't want to be in the body is because it's really dense in here. And in their spiritual bodies, they have great contact with higher concepts. And if they become too into the human body, they would lose those connections. And what I'm finding, and I'm trying to understand, and I'm seeing, is that if I tap into them, into that higher consciousness, I can understand or receive some of what they're in touch with. And to me, this is, I feel like, what we need to do. This isn't in the future anymore. This is here and now. Our ability and the acceptance of our ability to communicate with, in other ways, with other sources. So that's my take. So I'm looking forward to part 3 because I think if we focus on that somewhat, it'll be a really interesting learning experience.
Yara?
That's great. Thank you. Remind us of all too, Vincent, in part 3.
Okay. I know part 3 isn't going to be the last part either. I think this is an ongoing, we are works in progress. This is an ongoing creation. It's I look at Don, the background there. It's a rank organization production here. Never private joke. Kiara, any last words for today?
Well, yeah, I was just actually thinking that we're working on so many interlinked dimensions. Last night I had a dream, and it's here in India. It's just now morning, so I woke up from the dream and directly into this Zoom call. Dream
Yeah,
was I
you and me
actually
both.
met with J.J. Hertak and also Alan Steinfeld, and there were some other people also which I didn't recognize. And we are working with these technologies for medical technologies for healing. And it had to do with these special kinds of beds with different kinds of, you know, jets and portals. And I think it was about opening up the nervous system, opening up the aspects of consciousness that have become starved and denied of our inner juice. You know, so working with the meridians, with the nadis, in order to become fully present, multidimensional, and conscious. So I think that, you know, and then there's a message from Alan that he had met with JJ last night. So that was like interesting. So you're working on different
So I'm on the
areas
phone.
here.
I talked to JJ on the phone just last night. We didn't mention any dream travel time, but you know, but maybe, yeah, but I'm in touch with Jay. But that's great. So we're all connected. It's like Jane Roberts. We have these random thoughts or dreams, but they're never random. We might not know what they mean, but they don't seem random.
And that's what Vincent's talking about. You know, I think we can get beyond the physical dimension of contact and work with interdimensional contact through dreams, through expansion of our causal body. And then we find they're right here. They were never separate. We are part of them, they're part of us.
Right. I was wondering, does Cindy have anything to say? Because she's looking so intently, listening so intently. Can you unmute yourself, Cindy? Let me see if I can unmute.
No, I really relate with a lot of things that I've heard tonight from my own personal experience. Especially when Hildegard mentioned that strange experience with the car accident. I had the car situation, I had something extremely similar to that happen to me. And the coincidences were uncanny.
Any contact experience, ET contact experience?
Just signs, coincidences, you know, being led to this and this and this, and then getting phone calls that are validating one after the other. And I'm going, that aware. Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Higher contact.
Thank you.
And being led.
Oh, yeah. Well, Phil.
Well, Alan.
Well, what should we do now?
I think we should just say good morning or good night.
I'm going
want to thank
say good
everybody
night.
for dropping by for part 2. When you get the notice for part 3, really spread it far and wide, post it, share it, show you care. It's going to be, I have a feeling that part 3 is going to really be amazing. Absolutely. Something special, really, really special is going to happen during that webinar. Something that we're all going to feel at the same time. I don't know, you know. What do you think, Alan?
I think we should say good night because it's late and I'm tired. I mean, but it's been
I know how
great. I
Kiara
think,
feels. I literally woke up 10 minutes before.
I think though in this call, in this Zoom, we've reached another level of sharing and intimacy and openness. So I think we really done something good. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Alan. I saw, I'm just mesmerized by your gossamer locks here. It's hard to get past.
Thanks, Phil.
You're
All
welcome.
right.
I love you, Alan. Everybody, thank you so much. See you soon. Hildy, everybody, Kiara, Kimmy, Augustine.